Thanks to the recent dedicated expansion of and support for the Master Chief Collection on PC via Steam, the Halo franchise has become more accessible than ever before. 6 Halo titles can be played via MCC, meaning that there has basically been no better time for new players to find their way into the franchise. And with Halo Infinite slated to release in 2021, anyone who's interested in joining the Master Chief on his newest journey can truly benefit from the entire MCC. But one of the biggest issues with introducing new fans into the Halo franchise is finding an actual game to introduce them to. That was until now. I'm the Home Slice Ascend Hype, and in today's video, I want to talk to you about why Halo Reach, the 6th installment in the Halo franchise, is most likely the best game to start any new Halo player out at. I'll talk about why its unique gameplay delivery makes it the optimal launching point for exploring the gameplay of 20 years of Halo, and how several of its narrative elements are virtually essential in building a rich and wide-spanning understanding of the franchise. Whether you're a new player looking for guidance, or a current fan curious as to why I'm making this claim, this should be an insightful video. Be sure to stick around for my viewer question towards the end, and let's get this started. What's important to understand about the Halo franchise is that every game contains deviations in gameplay from the title before it and after it. While each game did retain the heart and core of Halo's gameplay design, it'll become apparent quickly that the tit-for-tat experience in each game is notably different. I know my regular viewers are probably aware of the concept of frame of reference. In a previous video, I talked about how a player's first dedicated experience with the Halo title is essential in how they perceive and interact with other Halo games. So the gist is that if we're going to be propping up new Halo players to tackle 20 years of Halo games, we need to position them at a starting point that is equidistant from other games in terms of gameplay experience. The idea is to ensure that the new players have a properly sized frame of reference through which they view the franchise, to where different ideas are not too big to fit through or too small to where they're ignored. It's for this reason I think Halo Reach is the most properly aligned game to do so. Halo Reach at this point is probably the most all-encompassing blend of modern and retro Halo gameplay elements. An easy example is the game's inclusion of a sprint mechanic, which is present in Halos 4 and 5 and Halo Infinite. In Reach, however, since sprint is a player-selected ability and not inherent, it's still possible to play the game without it, like was the case in Halos 1 through 3. This might seem small, but think about it like this. If someone's first Halo game is Reach, they have a natural expectation for sprint mechanics in Halo. They are most likely not going to be affected by the anti versus pro sprint discussions, since its inclusion is natural to them. Likewise, since Reach offers experiences that are free of sprint, they won't have any outstanding hang-ups when they don't have the ability to use it in older Halo games. Does that make sense? So we can apply this idea onto several other key gameplay elements of Reach, for example, armor abilities. The inclusion of game-modifying effects independent of guns, grenades, and melee is present in Halos 3, 4, and 5, and how they function varies slightly from game to game. But Reach offers a wide enough swath of both movement modifiers and combat modifiers in the form of armor abilities. Some people may not remember, but Halo CE fans actually had a massive reservation about equipment in Halo 3 because they felt it violated the gameplay formula, or at least the one that they had attached themselves to. I discussed this on the channel as well. Reach is again unique in that it has experiences that both include and exclude these extra abilities. Now, do you see where this is going? Over the past 20 years, the Magnum has risen, fallen, and risen again into power in the weapons sandbox. Reach is right on the last rise to power, and offers good representation for a weapon meta open to more than one controlling factor. There are plenty of smaller examples like these that prop Reach up as a proper launching point for exploring the Halo gameplay experience. But what about story-wise? Reach is notably not a Master Chief-centric story. Well, I think Reach actually has some story elements that make up for the pretty big gaps and ball drops in the original Halo trilogy, and it also makes for great setups for story elements that were sort of shoehorned into the later games. Let's discuss what I feel are the big ones. First, Reach does an amazing job at portraying the realities of the war with the Covenant. In the first 3 games, we hear that we're losing the fight, but we don't really know why or how. In fact, all we really do in those games is win, 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 so it's hard to believe we'd be losing. Reach's portrayal of the Covenant war machine, their invasion tactics, and of course their methods for mass eradication really provide much needed context as to why the war was going so poorly, and I think it'll help new players approach the Chief stories with a new appreciation or fear of the Covenant. Secondly, Reach set the stage for the Spartan program. Again, the early games sort of make no accommodation for exploring the Spartans as a concept, who they were or what they did. Since Reach is all about a team of Spartans, and of course the player character, this is the first game where we truly get to set ourselves inside a suit of Spartan armor and become the hero on the screen. These elements are really important by the time we get to Halo 4 and Halo 5 because the idea of the individual Spartan, the new waves of Spartans, really relies on understanding that Master Chief wasn't the only Spartan. Another thing that I think slips by unnoticed from current fans is that Reach shows Forerunner technology can be utilized. Avoiding spoilers, certain events in the game display that humans can study and adapt Forerunner tech to their own needs. While limited in the game, the matter of how it's done does provide good basis for future games like Halo 4 and Halo 5, where Forerunner tech is integrated into ships, guns, and even armor. The first 3 Halo games made Forerunner tech seem beyond all comprehension, which made by the time we got to Halo 4 and 5 using Forerunner tech seem really strange. Reach also has subtle deliveries that I think are important. It has a notably unique art style, which will prep the player for 20 years of inconsistency that rest around it. Brutes are in this game, which is great for Halo Infinite prep, and the inclusion of Dr. Halsey as a main character makes for a great setup by the time we get to Halo 4 and Halo 5. In summary, selecting Halo Reach as the game new players should start at is the result of the experiential versatility the game offers. The Halo franchise made big changes between 2001 to 2021, and lucky for us, Reach still exists today as an endpoint for many retro features and a birth point for many new features. I'm not implying that every new player will become instantly obsessed with Reach, and I'm not saying Reach is the best Halo game, but I do think if they get a full dose of it, it'll make it easier to digest variations in gameplay across the Halo franchise in either direction you go. I'll leave on this note. During the State of Halo study, players who identified Reach as their entry title, their frame of reference, were also the players least off-put by deviations in gameplay, and they were the most positive about titles besides Reach overall. If trends are gonna trend, this might be one worth betting on. So one question for you before I head out. If new players start at Halo Reach, what Halo game do you think they'll like the least when it comes time to play it? Which game will it prepare them the least for? That's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. You don't want to miss any fresh-baked Halo content. You can hang out on my Discord or follow me on Twitter. Both are linked below. Until next time, I'll catch y'all later.